Okay, so I'm gonna start off with this cute little photo of a little girl giving a big hug to this discarded a discarded water heater abandoned on the streets, giving us some love. Actually, if you can find it on YouTube video, the girl saying, "I love you, robot." But in reality, I think the water heater is probably the least loved appliance in your home. It's usually tucked away in the garage, the basement, in the attic. Nobody ever thinks about it until it starts leaking and you don't get no hot water. And it's like, oh, what the hell? We know that water heater accounts for it's probably like the number one or two most carbon intensive, especially gas water heating, is the number one or two most carbon intensive appliance in your home. Every year, a gas water heater emits about 1 metric ton of carbon, and in Palo Alto, we get about 1,000 gas water heater that are replaced each year. So this is a big opportunity, and especially in our view, we feel that water heating it is kind of the lowest hanging fruit for displacing carbon emissions because number one, heat pump water heater is a very mature technology. It's been around for 20 some years. And they are at least 4 times more efficient compared to a gas water heater. To replace a gas water heater with a heat pump water heater, yes, it is a couple $1,000s, but it's still relatively low in cost compared to replacing a gas furnace. And then also, what else? The heat pump water heater, when it's running on heat pump mode, it only takes about 500 watts or so of power from the grid, and compare that with EV, like a level 2 charger that draws about 7.2 kW, or even a mini split, a 2.5 ton mini split draws probably about 2.5 kW, so that's 5 times compared to a heat pump water heater. So in terms of the grid impact, that's just sipping the power. So in 2016, Palo Alto, we launched our first rebate for heat pump water heater replacement. It's something that we knew very well, running a rebate program. We've been doing this for decades, so we just put out this rebate program. Our residents can get up to $1,500 if they replace a gas water heater with a heat pump water heater. We did a lot of promotion, we did bill inserts, and the uptick just kind of trickle in. We get about 20 or so of these rebate applications a year. Not great. So we are finding that our residents, number one, the barriers include the high upfront cost, and then number two, a lot of plumbers, they don't stock heat pump water heaters, or they don't want to deal with it. They will just tell you just get a gas water heater. So we decided to relaunch the heat pump water heater, and we're gonna go all in this time. First of all, we're just gonna go put a big goal out there. We're gonna replace 1,000, not 20, not 50, not 100. We're gonna try to go for 1,000 water heater retrofit in 1 year. um, and how are we going to go about doing this? We have to make this really easy to our residents. We have to make this logistically easy and financially attractive to our residents. And to do that, we designed a concierge service where we will manage, the city contractor will manage the end-to-end installation and the permit process for the customer. We're going to create a very simple pricing. We're promoting the water heaters. We're promoting this program saying that for $2,700, you can get a new 65-gallon heat pump water heater installed, and includes the permit. So everything done for you. And to sweeten the deal a little more, we offer a zero interest on bill financing for the first $1,200. And then you can repay that over 5 years, $20 a month, and it shows up on your bill. So we felt that, okay, that sounds like a really good marketing message. And if anybody still wants to do it on their own, fine. They can find their own contractor. We'll still offer the rebate option. We up the rebate amount. to $2,300, and we're like, okay, this is like an offer that you cannot resist. Um, uh, so yeah, we know that this is a huge investment that you can tell just by looking at this price tag. There's definitely this is a big investment on the part of the city, but we felt that this is necessary in order to create that flywheel effect to encourage widespread adoption of heat pump water heaters in the city. Because based on our climate action plan goal, we're really looking to replace all water heaters in single family homes by 2030. So we have to do something drastic. So let's start with the customer journey of what a rebate program would look like. It is not easy, and that's probably the reason why the uptake previously was pretty low. It's a lot of heavy lifting. The customers have to find a contractor that's willing to put in a heat pump water heater, trying to get the quotes from the customer, schedule time for the plumber to come to their house, check out the water heater, get them the quote. Then they have to pull the permit. A lot of plumbers, they don't want to deal with our city's buildings department. They'll say, if you want to get a permit, you can pull it yourself. So now the customer has to, the homeowner has to figure out how to pull the permit, which is not always easy. They have to schedule the installation date. And then once it's done, then the homeowner has to do the final inspection scheduling with the city department. And then at the very end, they have to apply for the rebate. So they have to pay for all of that money up front. And then at the very end, 2 months later, they'll get the rebate. So we're trying to make this very easy for the customer. So this is the customer journey for the concierge program. We're going to keep it very simple for the customer. They pick up the phone, they call our concierge program, they give them their name, they get signed up, we'll send someone to the house, do a site assessment, and then they'll get an estimate from the city installer. And then once they decide that, okay, what they want to move forward, they can still say no at this point. If they want to move forward, they sign the program participation agreement. Someone will call them, schedule the installation date, and then from that point on, it's all taken care of for the customer. So, I mean, this looks almost too good to be true, right? Well, we'll get to the whether it's true or not part later. So this program is run out of the Utilities Program Services Department. That's the group that I'm in currently. And definitely to get this program launched, there's a lot of coordination with other cities departments. We have 2 program partners. One is Synergy, who does our installation, and one is Clear Results. They do the concierge service. So clearly we have a lot of interface with the 2 program partners to get this program launched. But we also, behind the scenes, there's a lot of coordination with other cities department as well, starting with our buildings department. My friends, these are like, when you want to put in heat pump water heater space heating, make sure that you become friends with the buildings department. They can make your life really fun, or they can make life hell. So our buildings department, like right off the bat, we told them about this program, and we really need them to make it easy for our installer to pull permits. And they worked with us to create an instant permit process where they can do a bulk upload of all the permit application. Like within 5 minutes, they can pull 100 permits if they need to. So that's great. They also put together a very clear list of inspection, heat pump water heater inspection guidelines, so that the installer can figure out what they need to do. And they also gave them a kind of like a bat phone. If you have any questions, call this person, and then this person can then escalate. So it's kind of nice to have that relationship with the installer. We had to work with our utility billings team to create that on-bill financing piece. That took time, and they got that done. I'm so excited. We have to work with our legal team to get all the customer agreements. This is the site assessment agreement, the program participation agreement, the loan agreement. There's a lot of back and forth with the legal team. So that takes time also. We have to work with our utilities engineering team because we anticipated there will be some panel upgrade involved along the way. So we want to make sure that there's an easy path to upgrade the panel or the service to these homes. And last but not least, this is a very high visibility program within Palo Alto. And we have to work very closely with the communications team in the city manager's office to make sure that we get the word out, create a good website, create newsletters, get it in the city newsletter. There's social media, like the whole shebang. We have to work with our communications team, and they also work with a communications consultant to get the word out. So so this is all good. Oh, here. So right off the bat, we launched this program this spring. And right off the bat, we're finding that it's not quite what we thought it would be. We're running into a little bit of hiccups from the get-go. We thought, okay, we promoted the program that for $2,700, you can get a 65-gallon heat pump water heater. That was ideally assuming that the water heater sits in the garage within about 10 feet away from the panel. You can run a circuit to the 10 feet or so of 220-volt circuit to the water heater. Well, that's not the case. Oftentimes, the water heater and the panel are on the opposite side of the house. So running that extra long circuit costs additional money. And there's a lot more readiness work, replacing taking out the recirc pump and reinstalling the recirc pump, putting louvers. If there's a utility closet, they have to add louvers to that closet because previously the gas water heater, they didn't need the louvers. What else? Running the TPRV, the temperature pressure relief valve outside the house, that's extra money. And in a few instances, we have to relocate, or the installer has to relocate the water heater. Like it could be a gas tankless water heater. They have to relocate it to a different location within the home. That's extra money. And all that readiness cost is paid for by the customer. So some of the customers weren't really happy when they get the estimate. They're like, "Whoa, this is not $2,700." They felt that there was a bit of bait and switch in our marketing message. And because of all these non-standard work that needs to be done, there's a bottleneck in the whole process. We have someone that goes to the customer's home, do an assessment, and then they come back, they estimate the project cost. We have one person in the team right now in our installer team that does all this work of estimating how much the project cost is. And that one person is also the program manager. He is the program manager. So he is swamped. We thought that we can get at least like 30, 40 estimates out each week. And in reality, sometimes he gets 5, sometimes he gets 10, sometimes he gets 20. On a good day, on a good week, he may get like 25. But there is definitely a bottleneck with estimating the project cost. So there's a lot of backlog creating because of this estimating of the project cost. And when we first launched this program, it was not really set up to be a program that can do emergency replacement. But we did end up getting a lot of customers calls and say, "Hey, my water heater is leaking." We're like, we were able to flag some of these emergency replacement requests, and the team was able to help some of these customers. And in a few instances, they were able to put in a new heat pump water heater within 2 days. But that's really more the exception than the norm. So we did lose some customers along the way because they needed water or hot water. And then finally, project staff turnover. So even within the first 6 months of the program launch, we've experienced project staff turnover on two of our program partners on both companies, and then also internally within Palo Alto. We've experienced project staff turnover, and every time we have a new staff coming in, I'm new to the program. I actually just came in, and I'm not the program manager. Diane Bailey is now the program manager. There's a little bit of onboarding and making sure that the new team knows what to do and how to handle all these customer calls. So it does slow down kind of the progress of the program a little bit. Yeah.
I was wondering, but the 120-volt tanks could solve some of the problems you're mentioning. Do you have that as an option?
We now do. When we first launched this program in March, it wasn't available. It was really hard for the installer to get a hold of these 120-volt heat pump water heater. Now they do have them. However, I think the installer, they just weren't all that comfortable with putting the 120-volt heat pump water heater in the customer site. In fact, they were insisting on still running the dedicated circuit, even though it's a 120 volt. And I said, no, it shouldn't. It's right there. It says spec. It's a shared circuit, 120 volt, and they didn't buy it. So there's definitely some like mental shifts, even for the installer, to be comfortable with using a 120 volt with a shared circuit.
I managed to get one in my house in Mountain View in 2 days when there was a failure.
Oh, good for you.
120 volt, 80 gallon, cost $5,000.
Good for you.
It worked, and so it was emergency. They had a failure. It didn't leak, but it stopped working.
Yeah.
The gas one.
So I wanted to kind of talk about some of the program achievements today. We have installed to date about 78, close to 80 of these heat pump water heaters through the concierge program. We're about just under 6 months since the program launched, so we're not quite there yet. Our goal was 1,000, so not quite there yet, but we're getting there. I mean, like when the installer team first started, they only have one sort of installation team, one crew. So one crew can do projects at like one home or maybe 2 homes a day. They're currently at 2 crew, and they're trying to ramp up to 3 crew by the end of this month. So they're slowly ramping up, and they don't want to hire a lot of plumbers because they don't sub out anybody. They hire people. So they want to make sure that there's work lined up for the crew before they hire people. So there's definitely that whole ramp up factor. We've done 6 emergency replacement, so it's pretty good. And some of the homeowners, if they don't want to wait, because I mean, like some of the customers, they actually sign up to this program. Like, let's say they sign up for this program in March, and they might have to wait a couple of months before they finally get the project installed. So some of them ended up getting impatient, and they went the rebate route. They find their own contractor. We've had a single 120-volt heat pump water heater installed to date. We also have some standing units installed, so that's definitely some learning experience from the installer. And then we got 23 loan agreements signed. So yeah, not bad, but we can do better. We've definitely got some ways to go still to hit our goal. So what are some of our lessons learned to date? We have to change our marketing message. We can't. There's nothing right now that shows that $2,700 number anymore. Yeah, we've learned about all this readiness work that needs to be done, and we're changing the marketing message to one call does it all instead of the simple pricing. There's a learning curve for the installer to meet all the permit requirements and pass inspection. So despite all the inspection guideline and all the things that we try to keep it easy, the installer may still not necessarily do the things the right way with, say, the condensate. It needs to be drained to, say, a landscape, or pointed away from the building at least 2 or 3 feet. Like, if it goes on a walkway, there needs to be a dry well. Like, there's just a lot of little things like that they have to kind of get used to. So I'm really hoping that, like, so far there's about 25 of the projects have passed final inspection, and we expect that number will go up very quickly. And because we've had experienced project staff turnover, one lesson is we gotta document everything, because you can't go back to someone's old email and try to find that email and says, oh, this is what you need to do. So that is definitely a lesson. And we should all know that, but sometimes things just kind of fall through the cracks. So we're not very vigilant about documenting every single process and every single agreement. Number 4, don't promote the program until it's ready to hit the street. We signed our contract with our installer back in October when it got passed by City Council. and we started promoting that program, and people there's definitely a lot of excitement in the community. And like right off the bat, we have a couple hundred interest form that got submitted like since the beginning of this year, but it just takes time to build capacity for this program. So a lot of customers got kind of unhappy because they had to wait a long time. And number 5, invest in a platform that can support data exchange with all the program partners. We're still not there yet. We have an Excel spreadsheet that is the spreadsheet from hell. Yeah, I think if we do this again, I'll definitely invest in a better data platform. Number 6, I think the extended warranty is definitely a nice add-on. We are finding that close to half of our customers who have signed program agreement to date, they want that extended warranty. So our installer currently offer extended warranty, 5 years labor plus parts, for $400, which I thought was quite a lot. But clearly the customers are responding well to this extended warranty. And on bill financing, that's also a nice to have feature. Again, based on the achievements today, I would say at least a third of the customers are opting in for that on bill financing option. And finally, there's a lot of ongoing marketing that needs to be done in order to feed that sales funnel. We started off with a lot of interest, and we're starting to run out of customer interest. So we need to keep feeding that sales funnel. And we're starting to put some surveys out to the completed installs. And so far, I think for the concierge program, the survey results have come back, quite favorably. Overall, I think all the customers are pretty happy with the water heater. They're happy with the installer. So keeping our fingers crossed, I will stay that way. So what's next? So the water heater is our foray into citywide electrification program. We're now kind of thinking ahead for the next program, which is whole home electrification. And as we're designing this whole home electrification, we're taking into account different factors that we wanted to think about. We want to continue to offer this 5-star customer experience, a concierge type of service to our customers, instead of just offering a rebate and just say, hey, you figure it out. We do have to be very mindful of which one of our customers can access the whole home electrification, because in Palo Alto we are running into a lot of grid problems. Our engineering team is constantly getting slammed with requests to upgrade the transformers when people put in 2 level 2 chargers in the home, and we do have homes like that in Palo Alto. That takes time away from other work, and they have been working on a grid updates, a grid modernization program, and the phase 1 of that program will be completed early 2025. There will be about 3,000 or so homes that will be fully ready for whole home electrification. We're upgrading the transformers, the feeders, all of that circuit to the home so that the home can be fully electrified. But in terms of how we market to just like that one section of Palo Alto, we have to figure out how to do that. And for the whole home program, there'll be a lot more appliances involved. So the cost is also going to go up quite a bit. I mean, water heater is pretty self-contained. If we're talking about heat pump space heating, we know that the cost of heat pump space heating can go from couple $1,000s to tens of thousands of dollars. So we have to think about how we can help our customer pay for that retrofit cost. And similarly, readiness costs, like a big chunk of that upfront cost is to get the home ready, whether it's panel upgrade or running circuits or other types of remediation. Right now, we have one installer. They hire their own plumbers. We want to diversify our installers to more than one, so that we don't get that kind of same bottleneck. So that is something that we want to get into. But then as we diversify the installer base, the second question is, how do we maintain the quality installation by that 2 or 3 installers? And that's something that we need to think about as well. And then in terms of the financial viability of the program, this is the water heater, the heat pump water heater concierge program right now is pretty heavily subsidized by Palo Alto. It's not really scalable from a financial perspective. So how do we scale this program so that we can roll out this whole home program to eventually the whole city? And that's something that we need to think about, how like financing or leveraging on the federal and state funds. Just all these things to think about. And then similarly, for the low-income households, how do we take advantage of the HERA and the homes program that some of the earlier speakers have talked about? So yeah, that's quite a bit to think about. So I will end here and see if anyone has questions.
What did the average cost end up being, or median cost, with the readiness across that group of homes? So it wasn't 2,700, it was...
So out of the 200 some project estimates we have, the median readiness cost is about $1,100. The average is actually a little bit higher. Yeah.
This is a question for you, or really anybody. Does anybody know what percentage of water heaters are replaced in emergency versus accelerator replacement for fuel switch? Sean, you know.
Yeah.
Because I'm guessing it's like the vast majority. Like even I don't think of water heaters that much. Maybe a little more than most. But yeah, that seems to be like one of the biggest problems is they're not on the truck. I know SMUD, I think, is running a program where they're like paying plumbers essentially to have them available, incentivizing it that way. I don't know a lot about it, but somebody told me that recently, so I don't know if anybody else has more information on that one. But it seems like if you can address that bottleneck, you can solve a whole lot of other problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think for just kind of the typical water heater replacement, I would say the majority of them, over 90%, maybe 99% would be emergency replacement. And they don't pull permits either. But for this program, we made it very clear that, don't wait until you get yourself into a big hot mess. Like, start thinking about it. If your water heater is 10 years old or more, this is the good time to start thinking about replacing your water heater. And we have to kind of explain to customers, like, you can kind of estimate the age of your water heater. If you look at the serial number, there's a way to guess, or we can send someone in to help you figure out the age of your water heater. So we definitely have that concierge service to help them kind of map out the timeline.
Have you thought of, and I guess this is for all you heat pump water heater experts, have you thought of it feels like there's not enough information out there for 120 volt heat pump water heaters, because I was looking at it looks like it's A. Smith and Reed makeup. Yeah. And from what I could, it doesn't say anything about, they overheat the water, so, it takes care of that.
Yeah, they don't have
That reheat time. So I'm like, how could this thing go head to head with a 240 volt 30 amp water heat pump
It's
water
a lot
heater?
slower. That I own 2 heat pump water heaters, one in a rental house and one in the house that I live in. One is 4,500 BTUs per hour, and the other one is about 7,000 BTUs per hour. And so for a typical shower that we take for our own house, if we heat from, let's say, 70 degrees to 120 degrees, probably takes 3 hours or something like that.
But the key is keeping it at a higher temperature, so the tank actually has more energy in it.
I think it's to your point, they've only come out with them in the last year. They didn't really believe in them. Ream put them out first, and A.O. Smith said verbally, we're not going to do it for a year until after Ream's put out, because we're going to see if this even sells. And yeah, they have not leaned hard into the marketing of it yet. Though now when you go to Ream's website, you start to see the 120 volt tanks, but A.O. Smith, it's hard to find it.
Yeah.
you look at, I found it, but it doesn't say anything about that, so I was just like, this has gotta,
It doesn't
you know,
tell
I'm
you
not
this
sure
very-
this is, you know, I don't know if I wanna recommend this, cause I don't know if this is gonna perform. It's like, it
Yeah.
can't be doing
Fair enough.
anything close to the same thing.
It's slow, but what happens is that it has to fit your lifestyle because it's so slow. So if you deplete it, you've got 3 hours until you can take your next shower.
But
But
the
it-
point is that you don't have to deplete it, like they
You
have
won't
storage
deplete
tanks.
it if
Right.
the storage
You-
tanks got
Yeah.
like
And then-
twice as hot
You have to have
water.
a high.
Well, one second, this is a technical conversation, we should.
Okay.
And the 120 volt, they do come in 50, 65, and 80 gallons too. So you can get the 120 volt.
580 gallon one for my rental house.
So if there's any, yeah, Jabron, you did last
I
one.
would say you should, have you connected with the Ann Arbor people, Ann Arbor, Michigan?
Oh.
Because they launched the Energy Concierge, so we were like working with them, EcoWorks on their pilot, and they did like a little pilot rollout for their residents, so it's just for like Ann Arbor, it's an Energy Concierge service, and they
Okay.
worked with, another nonprofit to kind of have a little corridor and all that, so you should, I can maybe get your contact.
Yes,
and
please.
engage.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Woo!